1990. Following nearly a decade of intense effort, Dr. Campbell and his colleagues finally published their China study. It identified no less than 94,000 correlations between diet and disease.
Those are big numbers for any study. And in the end of the day, when we did all these correlations in this book here, and we looked at the number of them that were statistically significant, it was between about 8,000 to 9,000. When you have that large number of correlations and you start analyzing each one, if it works out as statistically significant, this means that if 19 out of 20 are pointing in the same direction, it's highly significant and likely to be true.
Hundreds of detailed tables and charts were included in the study. Each one presented the raw data that was collected. Then, this information was cross-referenced in multiple ways to demonstrate its reliability and to show how it linked with the 367 variables the study examined.
I think the major message we got out of all these correlation analysis is only one message. The plant food-based diet, mainly cereal grains, vegetables, and fruits, and very little animal food, is always associated with lower mortality of certain cancers, stroke, and coronary heart disease.
The New York Times called it the most comprehensive large study ever undertaken of the relationship between diet and the risk of developing disease. For Dr. Campbell, he finally had large-scale data on people, and it was remarkably consistent with his earlier discoveries. Together, he found that the scientific evidence was clear. Whole plant-based foods were beneficial to human health, while Dr. Campbell was publishing his China study, Dr. Esselstyn was getting some powerful data from the research he'd started in 1985. He began with 24 patients, but 6 had dropped out in the first year, leaving him with a total of 18.
At the end of 5 years, we had follow-up angiograms, and 11 of the group had halted their disease. There was no progression. And there were 4 where we had rather exciting evidence of regression of disease.
These results were astonishing. The diet produced something that medication and surgery never had before. In 1975, Dr. Campbell was at Cornell University, investigating what he'd discovered in the Philippines.
Our work from the beginning was designed, in a sense, to do 2 main things. One, I wanted to replicate, if possible, the Indian work, because it was so provocative. Secondly, if this is really true, I wanted to study how does it work.
Just like the Indian researchers, Campbell fed half the rats in his study a diet of 20% casein, the main protein in dairy products. The other half was fed only 5% casein. Over the 12 weeks of the study, the rats eating the higher protein diet had a greatly enhanced level of early liver cancer tumor growth. On the other hand, all of the rats eating only 5% protein had no evidence of cancer whatsoever. But Dr. Campbell decided to take these findings a step further. This time, instead of keeping his test rats on the same diet throughout the study, he kept them in one group and switched their diets back and forth, between 5 and 20% dairy protein, doing so at 3-week intervals. The results were astonishing. Whenever the rats were fed 20% protein, early liver tumor growth exploded. But when the same rats were given 5% protein, tumor growth actually went down.
I mean, this was so provocative, this information. We could turn on and turn off cancer growth just by adjusting the level of intake of that protein. Going from 5% to 20% is within the range of American experience. The typical studies on chemical carcinogens causing cancer are testing chemicals at levels maybe 3 or 4 orders of magnitude higher than we experience.
Even more surprisingly, Dr. Campbell discovered that a 20% diet of plant proteins from soybeans and wheat did not promote cancer.
Whole foods, it's virtually impossible to be protein deficient without being calorie deficient, because even if you take the foods that are have the least amount of protein in it, let's say potatoes, for example, or rice, 8-9%. That's the figure we more or less need.
Dr. Campbell's research led him to a conclusion about the way genes, chemicals, and nutrition interact to promote cancer.
Cancer starts with genes. It might be genes we're born with, it might be genes that are actually changed by a chemical. So those genes become capable of producing cancer cells. Whether we do or don't get cancer is primarily related to how we promote those cancer cells to grow over time. That's where nutrition comes into play. They go much more rapidly when they were fed animal protein.
Dr. Campbell and other nutritional scientists have found that only a small percentage of cancer cases are caused solely by genes.
I think the general consensus in my field is that probably not more than 1 or 2% at most is attributed to the genes we may or may not have.
Animal-based foods were not. One of Esselstyn's most remarkable success stories involved a colleague of his at the Cleveland Clinic, Dr. Joseph Crowe.
Actually, I was active, healthy, very busy, mid-40s, absolutely no risk factors at all for any heart problem.
But Dr. Crowe, even with what was considered to be a healthy cholesterol level, was actually ravaged by heart disease. This angiogram, taken after his first nearly fatal heart attack in 1996, shows how badly damaged one of his coronary arteries was. This angiogram was done after less than 3 years of entirely dietary treatment. Dr. Crowe is fortunate. In 25% of cases, sudden death is the first and only sign of coronary artery disease. In 1982, Ruth Heydrich's running career came to a sudden stop when she was diagnosed with breast cancer. After a mastectomy, her doctors recommended chemotherapy and radiation to treat the cancer that had by then spread to her lungs and bones. Ruth decided to visit Dr. John McDougall instead.
And I said, Ruth, I've spent my residency collecting information on diet and breast cancer. It's all in these files right here. Sit in my office and read through it and see what you think.
He said, these are the studies that show what I'm trying to prove is that diet can reverse breast cancer.
And she read it, and she comes out and she says, okay, I've changed my diet. She changed her diet.
So he showed me how to eat, no added oils, lots of fruits and vegetables, whole grains.
So mangoes are really good. They flavor things really nicely. If that's something you want to get a riper one.
Dr. Matt Letterman and his wife, Dr. Alona Pulde, are among a small but growing number of physicians who use a whole foods, plant-based diet as a primary treatment for their patients. From shopping with patients to teach them how to read nutrition labels.
And I don't care what it says on the front, the back, or the sides.
Look at the ingredients, okay.
And that's all I care about.
To showing patients how to prepare meals. They are not your typical MDs. Doctors Letterman and Pulde use food as treatment because they feel it's the best medicine available. Medicine that not only makes their patients feel better, but that truly improves their health. After 8 weeks eating plant-based foods, Joey Aucoin was still off all his medications.
When I started this, I had all these side effects from medication and from my being so unhealthy, but now I'm getting in better shape every day. I feel more healthy. I very seldom get tired during the day. I just feel so good all the time.
After 13 weeks on a whole foods plant-based diet, it was time to get my results from Dr. Letterman.
When you started, your weight was 231 pounds,
Right.
now 211 pounds.
Okay, that's
So 20-pound drop there.
Wow.
Your blood pressure was 142/82 when you started. It's now 112/70.
Wow,
All right.
that's a big drop,
That's a nice drop. Oh yeah, that's great. And it'll just keep dropping as you continue to do
awesome.
this. Your pulse was resting at 92 when you started. It's now down to 60 resting.
Okay, cool.
Your total cholesterol though went from 241
Right.
down to 154.
What?
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. 241 down to 154.
154?
154, yeah. It's really, and your
awesome.
LDL, which is your bad cholesterol, I think this is the most impressive, went from 157 down to 80.
No way!
Yeah, that's amazing though, to drop almost in half. We did CRP last time, which is sort of the marker of the inflammation in the heart and the blood vessels, and that went from 6.0 down to 2.8.
Without using any medications, I significantly reduced my chances of getting a heart attack and many other diseases. Coyne had over 24 health problems, including type 2 diabetes. But after 22 weeks eating plant-based foods, his condition had changed dramatically.
Hey, how you doing?
Back again.
And you're getting healthier. Your weight is down 28 pounds. You feel better than you have. 26 out of 27 complaints are gone completely. Your marker of inflammation in the vessels is down to that of a normal person. Your blood sugars are coming down. They continue to come down even on a daily basis, which are going to get better. Your cholesterol is significantly lower than it was when you first started, before you ever started taking any pills. Your blood pressure is normal now compared to how it was before. While on pills, it was still elevated. And you just said you've never felt like this before. You look at how you look in the pictures. You look healthier. So, like I told you before, I explained how the numbers can affect our judgment of what real health is. And it's not just the numbers, it's overall the entire picture. And your picture looks fantastic.
I was taking 9 pills a day and 2 shots. So I was spending almost $150 to $200 a month on medication, above my insurance. Just think about that. I've been doing it 5 months. I've saved, $800 to $1,000 already because I haven't taken 1 pill, 1 shot. So think about what that saved me, not just me, the insurance company.